Let's take a look at the day's headlines. President Buhari to stay additional week in London for dentist appointment. Supreme Court adjourns Nnamdi Kanu's case to September 14. Plus, U.S. approves first transfer of seized Russian assets for use in Ukraine. We will bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. A very good afternoon once again, and many thanks indeed for joining us. And we begin this afternoon with reports that Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari will be in London, United Kingdom for an additional week at the behest of his dentist, who has started attending to him. Well, this is according to a statement by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity. Meanwhile, President Buhari will on May 22nd review warships, gunboats and helicopters for the Nigerian Navy. The Chief of Policy of Planned Navy, Rear Admiral Saidu Garba, scheduled to hold from May 19 to May 22nd in Lagos, has the theme Fleet Readiness for National Prosperity. He said the President would inaugurate two ships, the NNS Kada and the NNS Ibano. Away from that, the federal government has said that a sum of 22.44 billion naira was earmarked to feed inmates in all the custodial centers across the country. Osprey said the amount was due to the congestion of the custodial centers. It called for the reform of the service and custodial center for the smooth rehabilitation of inmates. Various projects in the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, particularly the mandate of the United Nations Environment Programme on Ogoni cleanup. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media, Abuja, he said the money would cater for the second phase of the Ogoni water project and the general or central remediation of newly identified hydrocarbon impacted sites. Recall that in August 2011, the Goodluck Jonathan administration made recommendations to the then government, the oil and gas industry, and communities to begin a comprehensive cleanup of Ogoni land, as well as restoring polluted locations and ending all forms of ongoing contamination in the region. The operation was eventually flagged off in June 2000 to oversee the total rehabilitation of the contaminated and polluted sites of Ogoni communities. In the meantime, the federal government has announced that Nigeria's oil production is currently lower than its insecurity and reduction in hydrocarbon funding, arising from energy transition, among others. The government disclosed this through the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission at the host community sensitization workshop, with the theme, the implementation of the Host Communities Development Trust, held in Abuja. While the Commission is prioritizing efforts towards increasing oil and gas production and ensuring maximum federation revenue through the optimization of oil and gas value chain, so the efforts have been constrained by a myriad of challenges. Reforms and working on how to bring the digital businesses into the tax net. Ahmed made this known after the 25th Annual Tax Conference of the Chartered Institute of Taxation in Nigeria in Abuja. The minister, who was represented by the Director, Tax Policy, Federal Ministry of Finance, she added that the ministry is working on the challenges facing businesses in the country to have a robust engagement on how Nigeria can harness the potentials to benefit from the digital economy. Elsewhere, the Agba said the program was initiated to support micro, small and medium-scale enterprises to cushion the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. The minister stated this at the ministerial town hall meeting for beneficiaries of the scheme from Edo, Delta, Bayelsa and Rivers State. He also added that there was also approval to give COVID-19 was still not over and still affecting the state. On legislature, the Senate has indicted the Nigerian merit as legal and technical charges without recourse to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. The indictments were sequel to the reports of 2017 and 2018 of the Auditor General of the Federation, considered by the $9.3 billion Nigerian hydrocarbon loss between 2013 and 2014. The law firm, not Hydrocarbon Global Movement. While addressing journalists, the vice chairman of the Senate's Public Accounts Committee, Hassan Adejia, said the committee had been able to submit 2015 to 2000 hearing in the suit filed by the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB for the release of their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, to September 14. The lead lawyer for IPOB and human rights activist Ifeanyi Ejiofor, and placing a further bar to any further detention and prosecution of Nnamdi Kanu on any charge and indictments before any court in Nigeria. A further report in group. Back here in the States, small and mixed in improving the productivity of their businesses. Our correspondent Esther Otoyo has this report.
Medium-sized operators in Uyo have complained the major factors affecting their business.
We pay, and there are so many fake tax. I'm telling you, 30,000, 15,000. They will come. As we can see, there is no work. Nothing is moving here. But when they came, it's for them to come and get the money from you. After 2 months, you see another receipt coming with another receipt. After 2 months, another receipt come with another receipt.
But during the Kale policy, it's to withdraw money and come so we can pay our school fees. And that was what I think has made the school to extend their portal to this very moment.
The business operators solicit the state government to make available a favorable tax policy.
Exactly government tax that we used to pay, that we don't know the real one. Let them investigate the real one.
Essentially, most Nigerians here just want a better life. And if you cannot get a better life, come and collect your money and everything. I don't believe that the government should just look out for all those people that sells. People have this opportunity of coming out to sell their product without being harassment from any agency or the other. I believe it could reduce poverty and also
over 50% to Nigeria's gross domestic product (GDP) and accounted for 80% of employment in recent years. Esther Otoyo for Spectrum News.
Ongoing conflict in Sudan. Now, according to the UN, there are reports of widespread human rights violations, including attacks on civilians, sexual violence, and the looting of jeopardize ongoing ceasefire negotiations. Reports say the session was called for by Britain, the US, Germany, and Norway. The National Front for the Defense of the Constitution were freed after a day of protest against the military junta, which seized power in September 2021. Well, the organizers of the rally say the protests were the latest in a series of demonstrations against the military leaders who have delayed a return to Sudan. As announced that the first transfer of forfeited Russian assets for use in Ukraine were transferred to the State Department, Malofiev, in June. I recall that Garland first revealed in February that he had authorized the first transfer of forfeited assets from sanctions against the Russian oligarch. President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country needs more time to launch a much-anticipated counteroffensive against Russian forces, as some of which were trained by NATO countries, has been ready. But said the army still needed some things, including armored vehicles that were arriving in batch. Still to come in the news. IMC reschedules NP. Welcome back, and many thanks indeed for staying with us. And now on business news, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Lamilekan Adegbite, has said that the informal trading of unprocessed iron during the commissioning of the gold processing plant in Mopa Muro local government area of Kogi State, a plant in Mopa, will ensure that artisanal and small-scale gold operators within the schist belt state can easily have access to the plant for their gold processing and refrigerated block, a training selection, and MMSD offers, as well as stable power supply, among others. Revenues from natural resources such as minerals, oil, and gas. This was according to a statement by the World Bank announcing the new Africa's Resource Future Report, noting that the countries could achieve double revenue by adopting a better set rate. Countries capture only about 40% of the revenue they could potentially collect from natural resources. And the World Bank added that the prospect of higher revenues is significant in countries that are Stock Health now. United States panel of health experts has voted in favor of making birth control pills available without a prescription. The independent panel voted that the benefits of allowing the medicine or pill to be sold over the counter outweighed the risks that would reduce hurdles associated with the Supreme Court's decision overturning the constitutional right to abortion, leading to numerous bans and severe restrictions in conservative states. Still in health, the managing director of Beacon Hill Smile, Dr. Oluwaseun, ran the dental clinic under the umbrella of Beacon Hill Smile Foundation, held its maiden edition of its oral cancer awareness and work in partnership with Lakeshore Cancer Center to mark the 2023 International Oral, and 15% of the total annual deaths needed rescheduled all Nigerian Premier League football games for March Day 18 fixtures. Now, McCordy said the adjustment was necessitated following Rivers United's involvement in the CAF Confederations Cup. Now, recall that the league body announced on Tuesday that Group B matches will end on May final as they beat their city rivals AC Milan in the thrilling derby, which finished 2-0 at St. This is the furthest they have been in the competition since then, and despite the intimidating atmosphere created by the overwhelming number of AC Milan fans, Folarin Falana, popularly known as Fals, has called for prayers as he undergoes surgery. Fals made the request in a video posted on his Instagram page. While speaking on his health status, the singer disclosed that the sustained. Still on entertainment, Nigerian superstar Rema has continued his historic run at the top of the chart. The single has now spent a record 36 weeks at the top, while entering its 59th week on the chart. Platforms, and do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website. Just search spectrumtv.ng. If you watch